Hey Jordan, how are you?
Hey team, how's it going?
Good, awesome. We are just getting you pinned. So thank you so much for joining us. One of the most awesome parts of my job, and really for probably everybody here, is getting to talk to customers and prospects and learn more about them. And so we love bringing these stories directly to you through events like this. And so we are very excited to have Jordan joining us from Lewis Communications, an agency. And Jordan, I'm going to start by just letting you tell us a little bit about what you do for Lewis and a little bit about your team.
Hey guys, excited to see everyone. So I am a Vice President of Strategy and Research at Lewis Communications. We have offices in Mobile and Birmingham and Nashville. And I'm actually in the Mobile office. We're moving into our very swanky new building tomorrow. So I'm currently working with a Peloton behind me. But that's okay. It doesn't get a lot of use. But we've been working with Resonate for about 2 years now. Our agency is comprised of four different departments: business intelligence, which is a lot of our audience intelligence, our channel engagement team, which is more focused on audience activation and media planning, creative, and account. Resonate right now is really spearheaded by the channel engagement and the business intelligence departments, although all four areas find tremendous value in it. We've been able to really tap into some neat psychographics with our different audience segments for the creative team, talking about who are they when they're not thinking about your brand or your category. What do they really care about at their core? Creative team has loved hearing and seeing a lot of that. It's really helped redirect some of our messaging strategies and some of our partnership opportunities. So good stuff there. Channel team is really all consumed in a lot of the media planning, content consumption, where our audience right now, what are they paying attention to online? Same thing too with different partnerships and sponsorship opportunities, influencer engagement as well. We've been able to find some unique niche influencers through, hey, this group is really focused on, buying things at Costco. And maybe there's a Costco influencer that we could bring into the fold that isn't speaking about our category, but we know that they're reaching that same audience. Uh, so that's a little bit of what I do and how we've kind of used Resonate so far. We did just renegotiate our contract with Resonate recently to be involved in this Ignite Hub, which we're very excited about. I'm excited about the first party data append and the media and site tagging we're going to have available to us. We've delved in that in pieces and parts, but haven't been able to really look at it holistically. We are also in talks with Bob and Jonathan about how we productize this differently for our agency and really think about this as a Lewis proprietary tool that we can offer in partnership with Resonate. So it's trying to think about it less as just a tool that we use and more of a product that we have within our agency.
That's an awesome example. I mean, I would really want to around the applause here in the room. I think it's one of the best things we like to do for agencies is help you differentiate yourself from other agencies and compete with even larger agencies. So the Ignition solution is something new, and we're glad to have you guys joining us for that. A lot has changed with consumers. I think you hit on some really interesting data points. They're kind of ever evolving. It seems like they're changing and moving. Their behaviors are different than they've ever been before. Can you talk a little bit about how you're using our data and to predict what consumers are going to do next and to predict these trends so that you can help your clients stay on the leading edge?
Yeah, I'll give you kind of an example. So a very common problem that we have from our clients is, hey, we've been doing the same thing for many years, and we feel like our core base is shrinking. We're not filling the pipeline. We're having to rely heavily on retained and loyal customers, and we're not really able to acquire kind of new pockets of potential groups. So we do gap analysis for them pretty frequently, either legacy clients that we've had for many years, or this is very effective in a new business pitch, where we're able to say, here's what the general market cares about when we think about some of those key demographic and psychographic attributes. Here's what they care about. Here's what they look like. And by the way, here's who you're currently attracting. So here's what we're seeing in your web analytics. Here's the data that we have that are that's available to us within our channel platforms. And here's a really big audience that you're missing right now. So that could be anything from shifting their targeting strategy, messaging strategy, even looking at their product a little bit differently. So it's a way for us to capture a wider lens on the market without having to do a huge formal primary research study to start. We always complement it with primary research when we have the budget and availability. But that gap analysis has proved very effective. And oftentimes they sit back and go, wow, we didn't even know these customers existed out there. And we are not reaching them right now. So that kind of, how do we widen the top of the funnel, attract different groups and highlight opportunities? Now, when we do have clients that are set up in the site hub, it's even easier for us to do, where we can show who's actually hitting their site and connecting those strong resonate attributes that we wouldn't have through a simple Google Analytics or Facebook platform. That's really where the most rich insights happen. But we can do it pretty easily with some of the kind of surface level demographic traits that we can capture just through the website, through SEMrush, through Facebook, et cetera.
So when you think about the Insights Hub and how, one of the things that we always think about in going to the client, sometimes it's a challenge to get the client to buy on. Do you feel, have you had a challenge getting your clients to sign on to using the tags on their website and like getting that through their process? But like, how do you showcase that value and how do you get them through that sort of the hurdles that are inside their own organization?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's actually come up a good bit more as we've introduced more and more Resonate insights. We've had some clients that are put a blindfold on me and just show me the way, and they don't really need to know the inner workings of the platform and how we arrived at these insights. And then we have some clients who really want to better understand how are you getting there, and so we have to walk them through some of the AI capabilities, some of the way that it's pulling in from the survey that's run throughout the year, as well as some of those online data points that are captured. So we've kind of varied levels of degrees of sophistication with our clients, some who want to know everything and some who just want you to tell them the results. There's hesitancy sometimes when we bring up things like propensity modeling and AI capabilities. But as you all know, it's becoming more and more, not just it's becoming the expectation for us to be using tools like that. So it's getting easier to have those discussions with those clients. We do have some, just based on our book of business, we have some clients that are far more hesitant to allow us to place those tags or even provide first-party data. When we look at verticals like healthcare or even some of our clients that are in financial services, it's either a no-go, due to things like HIPAA regulations, or it's a let's work with you for a year, see what you're made of, and we might provide them some loss leaders along the way to say, here's what we can do right now, but here's what we could do if we had even better access to some of your customer data. So part of what we're doing with this Ignite Hub and this kind of new rollout is building up really strong case studies with those clients that do give us full transparency and visibility so that we can go sell it to those who are a little bit more hesitant.
Yeah, totally get that. And we have a ton of financial services and health and wellness clients that we could certainly share those case studies with you. I'll make sure that we do that. When you think about a campaign or a strategy that you've implemented, it could be maybe to win more business, or it could be to deepen the relationship with their existing clients or retain clients, right? We're in a obviously very competitive marketplace for agencies. Is there one in particular where Resonate data made the difference? It was really truly like had better performance, had better results, like a story that you could tell us that's one of your kind of maybe most impactful areas where having the Resonate data was able to drive the outcome.
Yeah. So we've got one client who is in education, and they really serve, it's grades K through 12, but their biggest growth pipeline is children 6 and under. And we launched a campaign a year or so ago where we were trying to target that group. And we had what we felt was really strong messaging. We felt like the visuals were very much in sync with a parent who had young children. And for whatever reason, we started to see the parents with children ages 6 and under start to decline. And we were able to see that through the Resonate data. So we shifted our targeting strategies, we shifted our creative strategy, and we also shifted even the products that we were featuring, and we're able to see that that audience return. But it was a really important kind of mid-campaign insight that otherwise we wouldn't have known that, level of granularity, and it could have had wider spread impact on the business itself. So that's one example.
I love that example actually, because the measurement loop is really critical, and it's a great reason why you can have that measurement piece and be able to identify those types of trends. So you mentioned a little bit about AI. How, and obviously you're using our AI. We'll talk about that. But what other ways are you using marketing AI as an agency right now?
Yeah, we get this question a lot. I would say we're not early adopters, I wouldn't say. We've got some people on our teams that are early adopters and are very much kind of on the forefront of what we have available to us, others that are far more hesitant, some that don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. But we are using it in a few different capacities. For creative, we've started to use some different concept testing tools that are able for us to early on gauge whether or not this message or this creative strategy would be receptive to this particular audience. So some concept testing tools, certainly on the channel distribution, ability to resize, reformat, redistribute, and optimize in real time. A lot of that's happening. We also, we do use tools like ChatGPT and Claude AI to vet strategy. So one thing that I did recently that I loved was, here's a creative brief that our team wrote. Read it, tell me where there are inconsistencies in what we're ultimately telling the creative team to do, or tell me where there are competitors who have launched a very similar campaign that we need to be wary of. So this could look like a creative brief that AT&T just wrote for a campaign that they had in the market 6 months ago. So just kind of some of those first blush prior to things actually gaining traction in the market that give us a good gut check. All of it we validate, all of it we scrutinize, some of it we disagree with, but that's been great. And then, administratively, I think I've loved it for things like job descriptions and emails and things like that just take up a ton of time, that you really don't need as much of that strategic input. It's more about kind of keeping the lights on and doing some of the day-to-day tasks at hand.
Well, consistent with our brand, this is the year of HI plus AI. So we're talking a lot about how AI is enabling humans, but there's still a human capacity, like you were talking about, from from a checking and vetting perspective. When you think about some of the stuff that you've been using with Resonate, have you had any good? Are there any good stories you could tell us about using Resonate AI capabilities, either the AI Insights by Ray, or if your agency's deployed the new audience builder yet? If you've tried any of those tools, have you used any of the AI that's inside Ignite right yet?
Yeah, a couple ways that we've really loved it, with Resonate, one of the things that scared me initially was there's a lot of autonomy in the person who's initially setting up the audience, and there has to be kind of good oversight and not making too many subjective decisions at the front that could theoretically veer a team in the wrong direction. So some of the ways, and these are actually some of the new capabilities I think that have been recently rolled out, but the ability for Resonate to help us craft what an ideal audience might look like based on what we think we know, to help us gauge, is this even the right direction, or are there some attributes that we didn't even know existed within Resonate that might be worth considering, to just give us a little bit more of a dialed in read on the consumer. And then I forget what it's called, but the kind of search function within AI, Ray. That's been really lovely to blend. Let's look at personal values alongside purchasing behavior for the telecommunications vertical, and think about how those personal values play into decision making that happens further down the funnel. So giving us kind of a first read look on that. I find it really effective, in particular for new business pitches, when we might not have all the data that we need. Again, this is not, in our opinion, it can never be a one-to-one replacement for primary research where you can have a little bit more control over the questions that are asked. It has to be used in tandem. But when we don't have that available, especially when we're first getting started on a client, it's really nice for us to get kind of a first touch review of who your audience is, what they care about, where they're consuming content. But it's that blended approach that the Ray gives you that's really, really nice. And again, it might even be a thought starter, or it might be something that lands itself in a presentation.
Yeah, I love that. There's 15,000 and sometimes we're like, gosh, is that enough? Is it too much? Like, but you can't possibly get through all of them. And it allows you to find some that you might not even have known could be valuable, but the human still has to come in and say, is this valuable to my audience or not? Right.
Yeah.
So, are there, and I know this is not one of our questions I asked, but I'm going to throw it anyway. When you think about the new business pitches that you're doing, what percentage of your new business pitches include revenue data?
Every single one. Yeah.
Answer, but
And it might even be too that we use it as a teaser. So like I'm thinking about one that we're working on right now where they're very focused on geo-targeted strategies. We don't know the markets that they're talking about just yet. We don't know exactly what their business goals are. But what we're using Resonate to do is illustrate, all right, you've got a first-time home buyer, and right now you guys are treating them all the exact same. Let's look at the first-time home buyer who's based out of the Southeast versus Pacific Northwest, and just illustrate where they might be viewing them all as the same, and there's actually some stark differences. So it might not be that would ultimately be in the formal strategy presentation once we get the business, understand them better. But it's a way to illustrate the point that we're making is that you can't, treat all customers the same.
Right, and it's a great way for you to differentiate yourself in the pitch because you have access to broad data that someone else might have.
Right.
So I love that. When you think about the challenges for your organization over the next couple of years, what are this year or going forward? Let's take 1 year at a time. What are the big challenges that you see for Lewis Agency?
Budgets.
I hear you.
Yeah, that's a big one. And, we all know marketing is the first thing to get cut. So budgets and really being able to not only support the tool itself, but the insights and implications that come from it. So when you look at the strategy that comes from the insights, that's certainly a challenge. The other thing that it's more of an opportunity for us, at least at Lewis right now. Fewer and fewer clients are looking for, or we're landing fewer clients, I should say, that are looking for us to come in and just talk advertising to them or just create the big, beautiful TV spot. They want somebody who intimately understands their business, their consumer, their sales, their profit margins. So really having more of that kind of holistic discussion with them. We always say, our ideal client is somebody where we're a strategic growth partner alongside of them. We've got direct access to the CEO and the CMO. And that's not always the case. And it perhaps won't ever be the case, but that's a big thing that we're kind of up against. And it does help us also define, this is the type of client that we want. We can come in and we can do big, beautiful, creative work. But if we don't know that it's targeting the right audience, it has the right message, we're gauging success metrics accordingly, then what are we doing here? You can find any kind of agency to do that work for you, but we really want to be in the middle of your business and helping drive those different kinds of discussions.
And what do you hear from your clients when you think about their challenges? I mean, what are you hearing from them that gets passed on to you that they're expecting you to solve?
Speed to market is huge. So they're looking for things that are fast. And I think that's actually probably goes back to the challenges that we sometimes have, and where Resonate does help is that speed to market from initial strategy to concept to launching. We used to have predominantly a healthcare roster that had a 9-month production timeline, you would run something for 12 months and then you would stop and then you would start that process again. And right now we're in this constant state of optimizing, changing, shifting, and having to be able to kind of tackle a new problem without that 6 to 8 week strategy lead time that we used to have.
Interesting. So when you think about AI and how it's evolving, if you had to look and say like, okay, what do you think, how is it changing data and analytics from your perspective? Or is there anything that a trend or innovation that you're really excited about or that you're kind of watching closely when it comes to AI?
I think that right at the onset, people wanted to use it as a replacement for strategy. And we're trying to blend the two to say, let's use it where it makes sense and let's avoid it where it doesn't. And I think that we're, at least in our case, we're kind of on the other side of the hill right now, knowing where there's advantages to it and where there are pitfalls. So getting the team a little bit more well-versed in what the capabilities are, and then understanding where they need to contribute to that, where AI, if used inappropriately, can also create a very watered down piece of business where, everyone has the same access to the same tools, and we're not really starting to understand what the real kind of insight beneath the data is.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a challenge. Okay, last question, because we're getting to the end of time, and I know that we've got everybody from Resonate is here today. So this is your opportunity, right? If you could pick one new feature or a data set or a service for Resonate to develop to help you or your team or your client grow, what would it be?
Oh, that is so hard, because we do think about things all the time where we're like, oh, I wish it had that. This might be a little bit more tactical, but since I'm strategy and research, I think a little bit more visibility and maybe ability to shift the survey instrument itself would be very interesting, where we can use it as a quick pulse read on the market when it's something that's a little bit more specialized to a specific product or category. That would be one thing of many on the wish list.
That one's pretty. That one's not too hard, but we'll make sure Bob follows up with some information on what we can do for you.
I've probably already gotten an email.
Get on it, Bob Schaefer. Anyway, Jordan, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us, and thank you so much for being one of our most adored clients. We are so happy to have you and love the great stories coming from your organization. Have a great rest of your day.
We appreciate you as well. Y'all have a good one.